Now at 10, a 3-year-old killed and his mother's boyfriend charged with murder. Tonight, a Pine County community steps up to support the grieving family.
And they escorted Black Lives Matter protesters in their march to the fair. Now police take a stand against one of their messages. Plus,
some welcome to the neighborhood. A Minneapolis couple finds the central air conditioners on their new home stripped for copper.
Thanks for joining us. A Pine County man faces murder charges tonight in connection with the beating of a 3-year-old boy.
The boy's injuries were so severe, his mother removed him from life support over the weekend. Alan Cosentini reports.
Leah Daniels has been stepping up to help a co-worker.
Lots of response. Yep. It's been awesome.
The Grand Casino Hinckley supervisor is helping raise money for the family of 3-year-old Dante Sears of Sandstone. The child was beaten on August 24th at the apartment in Sandstone where his mother, Jessica KARE, and his 7-year-old brother lived. Jessica's boyfriend, 31-year-old Jonathan Lown, has now been charged with the death of the toddler. According to court documents, Lown left a note on the wall of KARE's apartment where he had been babysitting Dante. It read in part, "I snapped. I banged his head on the floor. He's not okay. I'm so sorry. I'm done with life. All I do is hurt people." Lown was convicted in 2006 for the death of his roommate and hiding the body. Dante died Saturday, and his organs were donated to help 2 other children. Now strangers are helping by donating to a fund set up by Daniels.
Well, originally I started it at $5,000, and when we hit that mark, now I bumped it up to $8,000.
Jessica KARE has only worked at Grand Casino Hinckley for a month and a half. Daniels barely knows KARE, but she knows she needs help.
I don't know, like, insurance-wise what she has, and medical bills are ridiculously high, and then funeral costs are high too, so that's what I'm hoping that I can help her with.
Services for little Dante will be on the same day as the next court appearance for his alleged killer. Alan Cosentini, KARE 11 News in Pine County.
That court date is this Friday. We have a link to the fundraiser for Dante's family at KARE11.com.
sad news to report out of St. Paul tonight. We're learning a firefighter at Station 14 collapsed and died this evening. Fire Chief Tim Butler says 38-year-old Shane Clifton was working out when he said he wasn't feeling well and collapsed, going into cardiac arrest. Clifton was on duty at Station 14 on Snelling Avenue North. EMTs took him to Regents Hospital, where staff worked for several hours to try and save him.
It's a paramedic, very humble guy, came to work, did his job, wanted to help out, and a very humble person. Strong as an ox. A typical, firefighter.
Clifton joined St. Paul Fire in 2007. Before that, he was in the Navy and also worked for Unity Hospital in Fridley and Alina EMS. Clifton has 2 children. Black Lives Matter protesters and several groups that represent Minnesota police officers are at odds tonight.
The issue at hand, a chant used at the Black Lives Matter march to the state fair on Saturday. Officers provided crowd and traffic control as some of those protesters shouted the phrase, "Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon." A chant the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association called deplorable and threatening. John Croman joins us now with the debate. John?
Well, some of the officers who heard that chant laughed it off and said, hey, police like bacon too. But many officers perceived pigs in a blanket to be code for officers in body bags, which has sparked the outrage.
No justice, no peace. Prosecute the police.
The long march down Snelling to the state fairgrounds featured a lot of different chants. KARE's cameras never captured the offensive one, but a citizen did and posted it to Twitter.
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
It's just disgusting. The chant is disgusting.
Dave Titus has been a police officer for 21 years and heads the police union in St. Paul.
Pigs in a blanket.
It's just insulting. It's disgusting that somebody would hold such a position and promote such an act of violence against police officers.
Titus called it especially insensitive considering that a sheriff's deputy, Darren Goforth, had been shot to death execution style the night before in Houston, a tragedy that was fresh on the minds of officers doing traffic control at Saturday's march.
The officers that are there to protect this march are hearing this chant about violence against the police. It's just ridiculous.
It's not about killing officers. It's more to say the criminal justice system, our court system, they treat black people a certain way.
March organizer Rashad Turner said law enforcement is blowing the pigs in a blanket chant out of proportion. and trying to detract from the fact the demonstration was peaceful.
And we've got to keep our eyes on the prize and not be distracted by, people who want to stop the movement, people who don't want to see, justice for all people.
Black Lives Matter of St. Paul is going to stage a protest in front of the governor's residence tomorrow afternoon because Governor Dayton said on Friday, the day before the march, he didn't think it was appropriate for the group to block traffic to make a point about black vendors. He actually said he agreed with the point they were trying to make, but didn't think that was the right thing to do with the state fair crowd. Now, Dayton does not expect to be home tomorrow at that time. Back to you.
So, John, just to be clear, the man you spoke to with the Black Lives Matter, he didn't have a problem with them saying that, or he just said, let's not get distracted by it?
Right. He didn't distance himself from that. He also thought it was 30 seconds out of a 4-hour protest, so he thought it was out of proportion. But he never said it was wrong for them to say that. He said that was their free speech right to say that.
Okay. Thank you, John. Well, Minneapolis officers have arrested 2 suspects in the robbery of a 90-year-old woman in South Minneapolis. Police say 2 women stole Marguerite Cornish's purse as she was walking home from the grocery store earlier this month. Last week, Crime Stoppers received a flood of tips after it released surveillance pictures of the suspects.
Forgive me my trespasses as I forgive the trespasses of those who come against me. I have to forgive. I can't harbor ill feelings.
Police charged Morgan Bierman with second-degree aggravated robbery. The second woman is expected to be charged tomorrow. Police say the women may be connected to other robberies in South Minneapolis.
The death toll for motorcycle riders has now surpassed last year's total. 47 people have died in crashes so far this year. Last year at this time, there were just 32 fatalities. Safety officials say there is a common theme among the deadly crashes. One of them, more than half of the riders were not wearing a helmet. And nearly half of the crashes involved just the motorcyclist, with speed and loss of control listed as contributing factors. The Isanti County Sheriff says he will not pursue animal cruelty charges after investigating the story behind a controversial picture. As we reported last night, this photo was taken by a woman driving on County Road 20 over the weekend. You see a dog on a leash being walked by a man driving his pickup truck. The woman filed a report with the sheriff's office claiming animal cruelty. Today, the dog owner told KARE 11 he's walked his dog like this for years, saying at age 67 he can no longer keep up with the dog on foot.
I think until people understand the whole story behind each story, I think they shouldn't be so fast to judge.
The sheriff said the dog is in good health and there's no evidence of animal cruelty. The Isanti County attorney says it's not illegal in Minnesota to walk your dog with a vehicle. Heading outside, the heat is on.
And because of the high humidity, it felt like nearly 90 degrees today. Belinda's in the backyard with a first look at our forecast. Belle?
Well, Julian, Randy, it's pretty remarkable because today we hit 86 degrees in the Twin Cities. This is the warmest temperature that we've had as we wrap up August today in 2 weeks. So now we head into September and the heat is on all the way through the week, really. Look at these warm temperatures, 88 Montevideo and 84 as well in Thief River Falls. This is this bubble of heat that's going to be over us all the way through Sunday because of a trough of low pressure that's going to stay just to our west. And as it does, it's going to continue to pump up this heat all the way through Sunday. Sunday looks like the day when the storms will break the heat wave just in time for Labor Day and for the rest of the students to head back to school on Tuesday after Labor Day. But for tomorrow, this is actually tomorrow's daytime highs, not Sunday's. Tomorrow it is going to be 90 degrees in the Twin Cities. Well, 89, give or take 1, right? We'll have more details on the forecast through the weekend coming up in a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Bill. A couple who recently moved into a North Minneapolis duplex will be sweating out this week's heat. They say thieves stole the valuable metal out of their AC units. New at 10, Boyd Hooper shows us why they refuse to be discouraged by the crime.
Promise is built over months and years.
Noticed that it wasn't cold anymore.
And threatened overnight.
I was frustrated, and I was just thinking, man, this really sucks.
Justin Richardson today discovered both compressors stripped and stolen from his brand new air conditioners at the North Minneapolis duplex, into which he and his wife moved 4 months ago. A few bucks worth of copper, several $1,000s to replace.
They just put the units in when we closed on the house.
Not what they had hoped for when they moved here from a rental in South Minneapolis, full of promise.
There's a real cool community in North Minneapolis of people trying to better the neighborhood.
We asked Justin if he regrets his decision.
I know other people might, but I don't feel that way.
For Justin, promise survives across the alley.
I can't see myself.
That's where Christina and Brandon and their grandpa live.
I went over, my wife went over, and we went over and introduced ourselves to them.
Calvin Kidd saw promise.
Really great people.
When Justin and his wife bought the newly restored duplex that sat abandoned for nearly a decade.
They seem like pretty good people.
He's hoping more good people buy the abandoned house next to him.
It's just a good change, you know, for the neighborhood to see, you know, like young couples like that moving in.
Which is why the real crime here isn't just lost copper.
I hope they're not discouraged, you know what I'm saying? I really hope they stay there for a while.
No, not deterred. Just need to be smarter.
Smarter means Justin is already shopping online for a steel case to protect his air conditioners once they're fixed, a $600 investment on top of his $2,500 insurance deductible, but still, as you heard, committed to his new neighborhood.
That's great. Thank you, Boyd. Well, a Woodbury man who was jailed in the United Arab Emirates has launched a campaign for a full pardon. Shazem Kassim was convicted in 2013 over a parody video about youth culture in Dubai. He spent 9 months behind bars. Kassim says since returning home in January of 2014, he has had trouble finding work and his family went bankrupt paying for his legal representation.
This campaign is going to remind the UAE government there are a lot of people who care about this injustice and a lot of people who want to see this injustice corrected.
Kassim says the Prime Minister of the UAE has already admitted that mistakes were made in his case. He plans on reaching out to UAE officials for a second time to ask for his pardon. Still ahead at 10, a boost to this year's flu vaccine.
Why health officials say it's ready to put up a bigger and better fight. Plus, it's back to school for thousands of Minnesota students. Tonight, the reason behind this year's early start.
And a sure sign of fall, it's harvest time already for some Minnesota apple orchards.
Flu vaccines are a bit delayed this year, but once they arrive, this season's formula will be stronger than last year's. State health officials say the vaccine includes protection against a new flu strain, and it should be a good match for what residents will be up against. More than 4,300 people were hospitalized and 10 children died last flu season in Minnesota. Labor Day still a week away, but more Minnesota schools than ever are already in session. The state legislature is allowing schools to start early this year since Labor Day falls so late. Most years, schools need a waiver to legally start before the holiday. The Education Department doesn't track start dates, but the State School Board Association found in a survey at least 76 out of 333 districts are starting early this year, and even more wanted to.
We do know from some districts that because the bill didn't pass until special session, they may not have had time to build that early start into their schedule.
School districts starting early include Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, Stillwater, Hopkins, and Edina. This was just a one-year exception from the legislature.
Stocks posted even more losses to close out the volatile month on Wall Street. The S&P 500 saw its biggest monthly drop since May of 2012. The Dow closed 115 points down. August was the worst month in 3 years amid uncertainty over China's economy. Well, it's hard to believe, but the apple season is underway at an orchard in southern Minnesota. Right now, workers are picking the famous Sweet Tango apple at Pepin Heights Orchards, which the owner says has a big cell and a thin skin, making it one of the best and juiciest apples. They'll be distributed all over the country after they're checked and packaged.
It has been a reasonably good year, yes. If you stop to think about it, all we want is normal weather. And on a day-to-day basis, the weather in Minnesota this year has been fairly close to normal.
Orchard workers can pick an average of 300,000 apples a day, starting the last week of August and ending the first week of November.
He said it best. That's all we want, just normal weather.
It's been a pretty good
Pretty good year for
Yeah.
every kind of harvest, and those sweet tango are phenomenal.
Well, you said you went, was it this weekend you went to the farmer's market and you couldn't believe how big every single vegetable was, just huge.
It's remarkable. I mean, it really just stops you in your tracks when you go to one of the farmers markets and just see how everything is just absolutely huge. So yeah, it's been a great year. You know, we've been talking a little bit about our heat wave, but also a little bit about the tropics. And one of the reasons it's so hot is because Tropical Storm Erica has actually influenced our weather. We usually look at the Atlantic, but I thought it would be interesting to look at the Pacific tonight, because look at this. In the Pacific, as we speak, we have 3 hurricanes and 1 tropical storm. We have Hurricane Jimena, we have Hurricane Ignacio. Ignacio is right near the Big Island of Hawaii, and we also have Hurricane Kilo. All of those showing up on the Pacific shot there. That's a courtesy from NASA. And actually, there's also a tropical storm that's just to the east of that last hurricane. So pretty remarkable. In the Atlantic, if you're wondering, there's also the beginnings of what will be called Fred, tropical storm, and then eventually, potentially, Hurricane Fred, because we go in alphabetical order. So we just finished with Erica, so now we move on to F, which is Fred this year. Well, let's come back to Minnesota, talk about our weather. Today, we topped out at 86, and as I mentioned, it was the warmest day in the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of cold air that has come in the last couple of weeks in August, and now we wrap the month up with 86, and now we're soaring into September with some very warm temperatures. The record for today was set back in 1907 at 94. I did look at the month of August since we're wrapping it up tonight, and we ended up just half a degree below average, with an average temperature of about 70 degrees, and we were just about 1.5 inches behind when it came to precipitation. So that is how August ended up. That's pretty normal, as the apple farmer said. When it comes to the temperatures, you can see tomorrow is going to be a hot one. We're going to be topping out at 89. The winds today were really the saving grace at the fair and everywhere. And tomorrow they'll be a little lighter. So it is going to be hot. Here are the current temperatures. If we stay in the 70s for consistent overnight temperatures for 4 nights in a row, we will actually break a record here in early September, and we have a chance of doing that. The overnight lows are going to be very warm, and the reason for that is we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. These are the current dew points. It is tropical out here as we speak. So as I mentioned, big trough of low pressure to our west, and as it continues to dig into the west, all of this heat and humidity will build in, and we don't expect the heat wave to break until late in the weekend. But in the meantime, there could be a few spotty thunderstorms that rumble through, isolated storms, hit or miss storms, and we're calling for them Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But again, if you have a thunderstorm in your region, you'll probably be pretty lucky. They're going to be hit or miss. But then on Sunday, that's when the shift in the atmosphere will happen and thunderstorms will be more widespread. We'll, of course, have to watch that timing because just today it shifted from Saturday to Sunday. So if you're paying attention to each and every day, which I know you are, as we're wrapping up summer and heading into Labor Day. So these are the daytime highs, nice and warm. Isolated chance of thunderstorms Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Best chance in the morning Wednesday and Thursday. And then Saturday night late, a good chance of storms. And then right now the storms do rumble through Sunday. And then we're cooler with showers lingering on Labor Day morning and then clearing out and dropping back into the 70s for a number of days in a row. So it'll be a big shift that happens sometime this weekend. We'll have to watch when that is because that will determine what day we'll be dealing with those thunderstorms.
All right. Thank you, Belle.
All right.
Coming up, the Vikings continue to make cuts, but a local player is still on the roster.
Plus a day at the fair with Gopher men's hockey coach Don Lucia. Sports is next.
KARE 11 Sports from the Mayo Clinic Sports Medicine Sports Desk.
Got to get that roster down to 53. That's like a deck of cards plus a joker. Not going to speculate who the joker is on the Vikings or who the 20-plus cuts still will be, but we can tell you that today, former Eden Prairie Eagle Carter Bykowski is one of the ones let go, while another local player continues to hang on. Wide receiver Isaac Frichte finds himself on the roster going into this Thursday's final preseason game. Now, granted, wide receiver may be one of the toughest positions to crack, but the former Gopher has been working hard on special teams as well. While the odds of Frichte making the final roster are slim, he continues to fight.
I think if you can do things that other people can, as far as whether that's special teams or offensively, you're going to hopefully set yourself apart and, make some plays that will hopefully, kind of make people think about you at the end and be like, hey, maybe we, keep him around a little longer. So hopefully I've done some things.
Well, you never know who you're going to see at the State Fair. Let's face it, the people watching, amazing. Our Dave Schwartz found and caught up with longtime Gopher men's hockey coach Don Lucia.
You're going to your 17th season, right, at the U of M.
It's hard to believe that going on 17. The only way I can really tell is when I look in the mirror. I'm a lot older and a lot grayer than I was.
What would the older you tell the younger you as you start out?
Well, control what you can control.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the big thing, that there's always going to be challenges. You can't please everybody. You have to just do the best job you possibly can, and then you have to adapt.
I'm noticing that you're like part coach, part politician as everyone's walking by us going, hey, it's Don Lucia, it's Don Lucia. Do you embrace that part of your job?
Well, it's something that you have to understand. That in what we do, just like I tell our players, I'm on 24/7, 365 days a year, so I have to make sure that I conduct myself in the proper manner because I'm always representing the University of Minnesota.
It's a good and a bad thing for you because you want your guys to go on and do great things after the U of M, but you lose some very talented players who are going to go on to the NHL now. How do you transition?
Yeah, we did. We lost some great players, but you know what? We were fortunate enough to have them through their junior year. And so when I look at the contributions, certainly Mike Riley as a two-time All-American, Adam Wilcox, Brady Shea, what they're able to do. I've always told the players that when you're ready to leave for the next level, I'll be happy to drive you to the airport.
Don, thanks very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Unless you want to go ride the giant slide, I think are you a giant slide guy?
I haven't been on the giant slide, but I want to take some skating lessons from Christian Yamaguchi.
I did that this morning. I did that this morning.
I heard that. I had a little birdie out there telling me that. How'd you do?
Well, I'm a hockey player.
You're a hockey player?
That's it. They'll never mistake me for a figure skater.
And we have all seen those posed face headshots in game programs. Well, the Bethel Royal football team took those, but they also took these more fun versions for the purpose of social media. And as you can see, the guys aren't afraid to be all in. Isn't that creepy? Yeah. Their first game is Thursday against UW Stout. Good luck to the Royals and the braided beards. That's sports. KARE 11 News back after this.
Well, you already know this now. There is an ice skating rink at the Minnesota State Fair. Dave Schwartz did join Olympian Christian Yamaguchi on the synthetic surface to tap into his graceful side.
Let's see you do like a little spin. You got to wind up. And then as you bring your arms around, pull them in. And then pull your feet together, and then you'll start spinning.
In addition to the figure skating spin, Dave also tried a leg extension and a bunny hop. Dave, of course, was such a hit, he got flowers from the crowd. That's a nice touch. The synthetic rink is set up to promote the 2016 Figure Skating Championships, which will take place in St. Paul. It will be up through the duration, that rink, by the way, up through the duration of the State Fair. Doesn't he look proud?
He does.
He
and
looks
graceful.
so proud. Oh, he's
really,
tearing up a little bit. Congratulations, Dave Schwartz.
And nice legs.
Yeah. See you tomorrow at the fair.